Phase 1 done, 6 more to go. The battle for Uttar Pradesh kicked off today with votes being cast for 58 seats. The fate of 623 candidates in Western UP has now been sealed. 60% voter turnout was recorded till 6 p.m. The BJP demolished its opponents in this region in 2017, but this time round, UP ke Ladke 2.0, Akhilesh and Jayant Chaudhary are fighting for the Jat plus Muslim vote. So, who has the edge? Over the next 40 minutes, we'll have top psephologists, political pundits, our own editors looking at what's happening in Western UP. Because remember, what happens in the first phase typically since 2014 has set the tone and tenor for what follows. Will it be the same this time round? Find out in just a bit.
First day, first show. Uttar Pradesh has voted in the first phase of assembly elections after months of intense campaign. Fate of 58 seats across 11 districts and 623 candidates in Uttar Pradesh is sealed. The Jat-dominated belt is up for grabs in phase 1. The community is being wooed by the top contenders, BJP and SP. The day started with a controversy. Jayant Chaudhary, the Rashtriya Lok Dal leader and ally of the SP, said he may not vote in Mathura as he was busy campaigning in other constituencies. The BJP latched onto the opportunity to criticize the Jat leader, saying Jayant had abandoned the idea of winning.
अपने मताधिकार का प्रयोग करने का अधिकार सबको है और जिनको मताधिकार के प्रयोग का अधिकार है उनको अपने मताधिकार का प्रयोग करना चाहिए, लेकिन मताधिकार का प्रयोग नहीं करना लोकतंत्र की ताकत को, जो हमारे देश की सबसे बड़ी ताकत है, उसका सम्मान करना नहीं माना जाएगा.
As the first phase went to polls, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath campaigned in Saharanpur. The Prime Minister launched yet another blistering Parivarwad attack on Samajwadi Party and Akhilesh Yadav.
ये गोर परिवारवादी लोग सरकार में होते तो शायद वैक्सीन रास्ते में ही कहीं बिक जाती और आप कोरोना से भय से आतंकित होकर के जीवन मृत्यु की लड़ाई लड़ने के लिए मजबूर हो जाते हैं.
Chief Minister Yogi stirred a fresh controversy with his video message on polling day. He warned the people of UP that the state will become like Kashmir, Kerala or Bengal if they voted for the opposition parties.
आतंकी बार-बार धमका रहे हैं कि जरा सरकार आने दीजिए, सावधान रहिए, आप चूके तो 5 साल की मेहनत पर पानी फिर जाएगा और इस बार उत्तर प्रदेश को कश्मीर, बंगाल और केरल बनती देर नहीं लगेगी.
Yogi's appeal to voters provoked a sharp reaction from Kerala Chief Minister. Pinarayi Vijayan tweeted that if UP turns into Kerala, then it will enjoy best education, health services and communal harmony. One phase over, 6 more to go. A lot could change over the next 1 month as the election caravan moves east. The battle is set to get more fierce. The semi-final before 2024 promises to be a nail-biting thriller. Bureau Report, India Today.
Joining me now in the India Today Mediaplex, I want to introduce Pradeep Gupta, India's most famous psephologist. Pradeep, welcome. We've got Sanjay Kumar, director of CSDS, highly respected academic think tank. He's doing his own studies and surveys. He'll give us some insights on what's happening. India's foremost political journalist, Rajdeep Sardesai, to my right. Rajdeep, welcome back from Punjab. I saw you had a lot of fun, lots of good food.
Very, fascinating election taking place in Punjab. Probably easier to predict than Uttar Pradesh, though I won't hazard and tell you which way the wind is blowing.
Rahul Srivastav, our national affairs editor, has been travelling through Uttar Pradesh. He joins us on this broadcast. Sharat Pradhan is in Uttar Pradesh in Lucknow, understands the ins and outs, the minutiae of the elections. Anila Singh joins us from the BJP. For some reason, the Samajwadi Party has decided to stay away and will not be a part of this show. So, Sanjay Kumar, let me come to you first. Your sense, and we're not allowed by the EC to make specific predictions, so we'll stay away from there. If I were to ask you on the back of the first phase, hawa kya hai? What's the mahal? You've studied this state, you've got teams on the ground. What sense are you picking up about how this big battle in UP is shaping up?
No, Rahul, certainly whatever I am going to tell you is not based on any data, because we are not doing any exit poll. We are doing our own different kind of a study, which is not an exit poll.
Post-poll analysis.
Post-poll analysis. But let me tell you very frankly, if we compare it with 2017, this was the region which BJP has swept 53 out of 58 seats. There is no doubt that BJP will receive a setback in Western UP. The only question is about what is the extent of that setback, whether BJP will lose 10 seats, 20 seats, 30 seats. That's the only question. But I'm pretty sure BJP is suffering a setback in Western UP.
Sure, but on the question of the quantum of the setback, do you think it's just marginal losses, or do you think the BJP is potentially staring at substantial losses?
I would say it's not going to be only marginal losses. I think the losses are substantial. When I was in the field a couple of days back, I got the sense that Jat vote who have voted for BJP in very large number based on our previous data, Jat vote is getting split, and a very large chunk of Jat vote is going towards Samajwadi Party, RLD Gathbandhan. And if that has happened today, I think that will result in a big setback.
And what did you pick up about Muslim votes? There are two theories. One is that they vote ekmusht, disproportionately in favor of the SP. The other is they vote for the SP, but where the BSPs put up a strong, influential Muslim candidate, the Muslim vote could get split. And given the percentage of Muslims put up by the BSP, that could be a big factor.
I will put to rest all this speculation in this election. If it was a normal election, Muslim vote have got split because of the fact that BSP has given tickets to large number of Muslims. But this is an election which is kind of a do and die battle for the three segments of the society: Muslims, Jats and the Yadavs. So even though there are, I'm not saying that there is a very healthy relationship between the Muslims and the Jats on the ground, but I think both of them see as a common enemy. And this is an election in which we will see highest polarization of Muslims in favor of Samajwadi Party, also highest percentage of votes being polled in favor of Samajwadi Party RLD among the Jats. That's the trend I'm getting from this.
That's interesting. Gupta ji, let's come to you. Now, you've been out in the field, you've been doing your own research, you've been training your teams up. What are you broadly picking up? Without getting into numbers, what are you picking up about which way the winds are blowing?
See, Rahul, at this juncture, it is very difficult to comment on to this question where the wind is blowing. We still have to further study and reach to a conclusion. And as you mentioned, EC has anyway restricted us not to conduct or not to release any kind of exit poll till March 7th, 7 p.m. So, I mean, I would say 2-3 very important things. And the first thing is that though we are saying there is a Jat consolidation likely to be in favor of SP Gathbandhan, but let me tell you, in 19 also, it cannot be directly comparable to the 19 election, but in the context of RLD had the alliance with Samajwadi Party and BSP, which is very important even in 19 general election, and RLD fought 3 Lok Sabha seats, Muzaffarnagar, Bagpat and Mathura, and they lost all 3. When I say this, I am referring to the 20% Dalit vote was likely to be added to the Gathbandhan, whereas this time it is minus Dalit votes. So that is very important, one point. And the second
just
point
let me hold you there one second. So you two are picking up a big Jat consolidation in favor of the SP RLD Gathbandhan?
No, I am not picking up that for sure. But yes, there will be a momentum of Jat vote towards SP Gathbandhan in comparison to 19 election. That is true. But what is more important in assembly election is that Jat vote is in the decisive position of the numbers only in 30 seats. When I say decisive, I am referring more than 10% of Jat votes. So this is very important. We mistaken generally Western UP is too big a region, where we classify this further into 3 sub-regions, which is Doab, Braj and Rohilkhand. Rohilkhand has full Muslim dominant likes of Rampur, Sambal, Nagina, Muradabad, Bareilly. This is all Rohilkhand. There is no Jat. In Braj, only in Mathura there are Jats, but in Aligarh, Agra, hardly any Jats. When it comes to Doab, then you keep the Saharanpur separately, and there are Jats in Muzaffarnagar, Bagpat area in a good substantial number. But what is most important here, out of those 135 seats, only 30 seats are decisive when it comes to Jat voting in a particular manner. So that is what is very important. We need to understand, and we need to go seat by seat, not only region and sub-region.
Good. But ye batao, are we looking at a tight, exciting election, or are we looking at a one-way election?
My firm belief is always that these days, in the era of technology and communication, wherever the wind blows in one direction. So I don't think it is going to be a tight election, and particularly when UP election this time likely to be a bipolar one.
Okay, so we've read some straws, now you decode what they're saying, but Rajdeep, your best sense, based on what Sanjay Kumar and Pradeep are saying, also on your own travels, the significance of the first phase in the polling that we've just seen?
Let's look at this first phase. 58 seats, BJP 153. It's like climbing Mount Everest. Once you've climbed the summit, you can only come down. And that, for the BJP, therefore, this phase was about minimizing the damage. It was, you can't go from 53 to 58. That's not going to happen. Particularly now that the Samajwadi Party and RLD have come together. So it was to come together. Also significantly, BJP margins above 20% in this phase were 23. Between 10 and 20% were 18. Out of those that were above 20%, 13 were over 30%. So BJP didn't just win in this part of Uttar Pradesh in 2017, they won by a massive margin. So you're going to require a huge swing away from BJP, and that swing needs to consolidate around the Samajwadi Party RLD alliance. Not very easy, because there is Mayawati also in several constituencies who has put up strong candidates. Also significantly, a number of Samajwadi Party candidates are contesting on RLD tickets. And whether the RLD voter will transfer his or her vote to the Samajwadi Party is uncertain. Jats may well vote for RLD. There is an affection that has been built over the years. It's reduced over the years, but it's still there. And if a call is given by a various particular CAP, they can vote in particular districts again, especially in this first round.
But there's also a sense that Chaudrahat bachani hai.
That's right. But no, that may be there. But as we've seen with the Samajwadi Party, when they tied up with the Congress, when they tied up with Mayawati, and now with RLD, the alliance voter doesn't come so easily to the Samajwadi Party. So Mayawati, for example, benefited much more from the alliance in 2019 than Samajwadi Party benefited.
But we don't know, because Akhilesh, when I spoke to him in Lucknow, said he thought that was deliberate. That Mayawati didn't transfer her vote deliberately to the SP, while he, in good faith, transferred his vote to the BSP.
No, I'm not saying that the RLD doesn't want to transfer their vote, but will the voter on the ground, you see, the leadership may want to do it, but there are a lot of fissures and fractures that still exist on the ground between Jats and Muslims. Remember, the belt that has gone today also has urban pockets and semi-urban pockets, where traditionally the BJP is stronger, whether it's Ghaziabad, whether it's Gautam Budh Nagar, whether it's Mathura, you have the BJP at a relatively stronger position. My point is, because you need such a huge swing from the BJP, away from the BJP towards SP, you need a wave. You need a strong anti-incumbency wave. And I must confess, while I've seen that in Punjab, while I've seen that to an extent in Goa, in my limited travels in UP, I haven't seen that kind of a wave. And the final point is the woman factor. In 2010, Nitish Kumar won the elections of Bihar because he gave law and order in the first 5 years. Women, suddenly I would go and meet, say, after 6 o'clock we can travel. That woman voter, I think, still remains perhaps the BJP's best bet in ensuring that they retain Uttar Pradesh. We minimize the woman voter. Pradeep Gupta made that mistake. I had told him in Bengal, the woman voter is with Mamta. You will find it, she was with Nitish in 2020 also in Bihar. And I have a sense that that remains the BJP's biggest plank, which is why, if out of any of these states I see anti-incumbency being bucked today, it's Uttar Pradesh. Even Uttarakhand. I believe Uttarakhand, Goa, Punjab, there is a strong move for Badlav, because you failed in these states on issues like COVID management, you've had chief ministers being changed, and you've had high unemployment. Uttar Pradesh, I'm not so sure because of the women factor and the split opposition. Remember how the opposition is split. It's SPRLD, it's BSP, in some pockets Owaisi has also put up a strong Muslim candidate. All of that, the Congress of course is a minimal factor, but again will take some votes away maybe. So you've got a lot of problems for the Samajwadi Party alliance to overcome to defeat the BJP.
No one's travelled Uttar Pradesh in our team quite as much as Rahul Srivastav has. I'm curious to know from him about Jat consolidation in favour of the SP, RLD. Is that something that you picked up as well? And when we hear from Prime Minister Modi or from Chief Minister Adityanath, they speak of pro-incumbency, that people will judge us favourably for the work that we've done, give us another chance. What is it that you've picked up so far, Rahul?
Rahul, with the commandal element, the polarization element going subterranean and several other factors coming into fore and a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic also pulling at the decision-making of a voter, I think the waters have gone muddied this time around. That's why nobody is able to put a finger on what's going to happen. One thing is very clear, that the kind of comfort and ease with which the BJP could dictate the mandate because of the polarization, that period is over. Now, if that is over, the alliances, more tactical and grounded, will have a say. So if RLD and Samajwadi Party is a good alliance where the Jats are dominant, then you have something close to 12 seats, Rahul, which were won by the BJP with a margin of less than 10%. That's threatened. There are seats where 8 seats where the margin was less than 1,000. Those seats are threatened because the Jat vote may drift away. Then you have factors like when Rajdeep says law and order, Rahul, it's a huge issue, not just in Western UP. It resonates from Ghaziabad to Gorakhpur, and that's one thing that not just the women, but even the men are talking about. So it's a theme which resonates all across UP. But then the muddying of waters gets worsened because price rise, no subsidy on LPG cylinders. All these are also elements. Sarson ka tel, dal ke daam. These are also issues that women are talking about. So one can't really say that the kind of consolidation that happened for the BJP is going to happen. BSP, when we talk about the BSP's presence, Rahul, very strange thing happening on the ground, that till 2007, the Jatavs, the non-Jatav Dalits, several non-Yadav OBCs, Brahmins were with Mayawati. But since 2017, it has happened in 19 especially, that lot of non-Jatav Dalits have come with the BJP. Now, which way are they going to go? So I think there are too many if factors which have come into this election, which are actually making the picture unclear. But what one can definitely say is that polarization wave is over, the Jat vote is divided, and there are too many factors which are working in favor of BJP because of its incumbency. And problem for Samajwadi Party is that the Jat voter is still not ready to accept Samajwadi Party as an option. So is the transfer going to happen to Samajwadi Party from RLD like it did happen from BSP to Samajwadi Party is a big factor.
Sharad Pradhan, from the BJP's perspective, if they can win with less polarization, relatively speaking, than what we saw in 2014, 17 or 19, then that's perfect. Because if people vote for the work that's been done, the pro-incumbency that Yogi and Modi speak about, then the BJP can have nothing better that you set up these caste alliances, you stitch together what you thought was a mandal opportunity, and yet, despite the absence of a very strong Kamandal wave, just a subtle Kamandal wave, sure, but not in your face, not strong religious polarization. If the BJP is able to pull this off, then that would be the party's ideal scenario.
But that depends on how much are they able to pull off. And fact remains that they are coming down. And how much they come down is what is going to make a difference. As far as Jats are concerned, from what one gathered on ground from various people that I spoke to, it was very evident that Jats were consolidating in favor of the alliance for various reasons. Even this Yogi Adityanath's recent statement of that veiled threat of Garmi, Thanda and all kar denge. So that has also not gone well with the Jats, and they've taken it as a direct confrontation by the chief minister, and they don't see it's hurt their ego that he's threatening us, because that remark has been made on Jayant Chaudhary and Akhilesh Yadav. So then the rural-urban divide is also visible. In what we are talking about, the influence of Yogi Adityanath and Narendra Modi is largely on the urban voter. There's anger.
Why do you say that? I'm not sure. Especially given the level of social welfare schemes, the Labhartis the BJP counts on so strongly, as people feel the benefits reaching down to them, the magic of Yogi and Modi percolates down to the villages and not just to the urban pockets.
No, as far as Labhartis are concerned, it's fine. But on the law and order front, let me tell you, it is fine that the government has been bombarding them with this claim that law and order is great. But what about incidents like Unnao, Hathras, Gorakhpur, Lakhimpur? People do remember that. And to dismiss those, by BJP tends to dismiss those as stray incidents, which also speaks, where is the security for women? Who say, when they say that women can walk freely at 6 o'clock after 6 o'clock in the evening, I don't know which country they're talking about. It is certainly not Uttar Pradesh. So the ground reality is far different from the tall claims made by Yogi Adityanath, and he has all the wherewithal to do that. And I would say there's a lot of half-truth and falsehood in the campaign that has been undertaken to publicize what they say is good governance of the chief minister. And people can see that down on
Anila
ground.
Singh, Sharad Pradhan talking about a gap between the claims and reality. We're coming back on the back of a pandemic. There has been economic strife for the last couple of years, and therefore the reality, and given the peak that you're sitting at, there's only one way from there, which is down. Now the question, as Sanjay Kumar says, how much does the BJP slide? Repeating the heroics of 2017, would you accept is very difficult?
My Ram to everyone, and everybody knows Sharad Pradhanji's love for Bharatiya Janata Party, so it hardly matters what he says about BJP. And secondly, like all those people who keep on quoting Hathras incident, when BJP is going to win from Hathras, it will be like a slap on the face. And secondly, I will tell you why Bharatiya Janata Party is going to win good seats from Western Uttar Pradesh, and especially if we talk about first phase. Because of, number one, voting turnout. It is more or less the same, which was there in 2017. Second, women, almost 1.08 crores of women that are going to vote from this area. And thirdly, social benefit schemes. So I am very confident that the people of Western Uttar Pradesh, and especially the first phase area, they have voted for Bharatiya Janata Party, and they have voted for the development. They have voted for the communal peace, and because not a single communal riot has happened since we have come to power, and definitely they have voted voted against the appeasement politics, and of course, above all, we have shown respect to all the faith. And we have given the due respect to our faith as well. So there are many who have lots of problem from this. And one more thing, Rahul, here, like we are discussing about Jats, and I come from this area only, Western Uttar Pradesh, and I come from, I am a Jat, so I come from this community. I understand the temperament of Jats very, very well. And if somebody says that they are going to split and they are going to vote for this alliance, Jayant Chaudhary's and Akhilesh Yadavji's alliance, they are going to be proven wrong. Because I know Jats are one community who dedicate their life for the country. They are strong nationalist people.
You know, I want to spend a moment talking about Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, because this election is crucial for the BJP undisputedly, but it also could see contemporary political history being overturned. Remember, Mayawati spent just one term in power, Akhilesh spent just one term in power. That's been the jinx since 1984. No chief minister gets repeated. Will Yogi Adityanath get repeated? I want to ask this question first to Pradeep Gupta about the image. Given his firebrand image before he became chief minister, how he's, relatively speaking, toned it down and emerged as a chief. I was in Goa recently, Rajdeep, you were there. We asked Pramod Sawant, who do you look up to? And he said, the man I look up to is Yogi Adityanath. He's become the #1 chief minister of all BJP chief ministers. If he wins, the BJP and many voters who support the BJP would like to see him as India's next prime minister. So there's that sub-story as well.
So, Rahul, there are 2-3 questions you ask in one question. Is the late you ask is the prime minister thing, which is far away at this point of time, so let's not discuss. And there is to me, there is a huge difference between Modi and Yogi at this point of time. So let's keep this aside and let's focus on to the Uttar Pradesh Assembly election. Now, coming to the image of Chief Minister Yogi in, we need to see things in a different perspective, in the sense, Uttar Pradesh, the other side, the challenger, which is the Akhilesh Yadav at this point of time, has been associated largely, though he has done good job, I am not saying that, but the bad image, what is pulling them down over the years is the Parivarvad. You know, Parivarvad, it's not only limited to the big coterie or at the top level, it is across the all assembly constituency. That is what Uttar Pradesh has witnessed. That's one. Secondly, though we know Yogi image in a different sense, but if you put this image of Yogi, people see largely him as a family-less kind of a person. Same image here, likes of Modi. He doesn't have any baggage of his family, which is a big thing in Uttar Pradesh, particularly, I would say the highest level across the country. In Uttar Pradesh, when it comes to Parivarvad, and it gets down across, down the line. So, Yogi somehow maintained and somehow created the image of not only the old image, but honest, no family baggage, but at the same time, he has been associated. Now, let me talk about the negative point of it, which is he being the Thakur, then the arrogance is being associated to him. But what is most important for the voter, what they get as a delivery. That is the most important factor which decides the fate of any election.
Do you buy this theory that if Yogi Adityanath leads the BJP to power in Uttar Pradesh, he emerges as the #1 choice for the BJP's face as Prime Minister in a post-Modi dispensation, whenever that may be?
I don't think so.
Why not?
Look, we've increasingly seen that leaders have, I associate Yogi Adityanath very strongly with Uttar Pradesh today. Can he be a pan-India leader? The jury is still out, because Yogi, at the end of the day, whether he can do what Narendra Modi did so successfully by coming from Gujarat straight to Delhi, it is unusual what Mr. Modi achieved. It was a particular time in Indian politics.
But he's the #1 campaigner, even outside Uttar Pradesh. When the BJP is deciding who they want, everyone's pushing for Yogi to come and campaign for them.
Because for the BJP cadre, Rahul, the BJP had an 18 to 20% vote, right? Even pre-Modi. That voter may see Yogi Adityanath as his natural choice for succeeding Mr. Modi. There are a lot of attributes that Yogi Adityanath has which would be attractive to that voter. But remember, the BJP is now a 35-38% party. The incremental vote came from voters who found other attributes in Mr. Modi or had a problem with the Congress and the opposition, and therefore were attracted to Prime Minister Modi. Will that happen with Yogi Adityanath? We don't know. The jury is still out. Indian politics constantly changes. As of today, you could believe that Yogi Adityanath, if he wins big in Uttar Pradesh, could be a future leader of the BJP. But 3-4 years down the line, we don't know how the objective reality will change. There is a large part of South India. There are other communities. Yogi Adityanath, as Pradeep points out, is a Thakur. We often forget Mr. Modi was an OBC, was able to play the OBC card very successfully in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. Will Yogi Adityanath be? And that is the vote of the BJP. Let's be clear. Why does BJP, Rahul, final point, need double engine ki sarkar in this election? Because Yogi Adityanath is not as attractive to the non upper caste BJP voter, the non-Yadav OBC identifies much more with Narendra Modi, and he and she are the voters that have propelled the BJP to this dominant position in UP. Yogi Adityanath will have to also transform himself to reach out to that voter.
You did a poll recently, Sanjay Kumar. What's the sense that you're picking up? Is it still a matter of debate? Or do you think Yogi Adityanath, especially if he pulls off a victory in Uttar Pradesh for the BJP, will, no matter what the other CMs may think and other contemporaries may think, will emerge as a first amongst equals?
Within the BJP, yes, he would emerge as a much stronger candidate. But I'm saying within the BJP, whether he is going to be acceptable among people, voters of South India or not, in other parts of North India or not, that's a different question. Because only being, if you want to become, if you are a candidate for Prime Minister or Chief Minister, you need two kinds of things. One, popular support as well as support within the party. So within the party, I think I would go with the view that if BJP wins UP, he is going to emerge much stronger within the BJP, and certainly he would be one of the strongest claimant for the Prime Ministership whenever the vacancy arises, which is not going to arise very soon. So whenever there is a vacancy, he is going to be very strong.
Rahul, not just win, he has to win big. Let's be very clear, right? If it's a 220, 240, which is about 70, 80, 100 seats less than last time, then you have a weakened Yogi. In fact, I have believed if it comes down to that level, there will be other claimants for this job in Uttar Pradesh itself. Yogi Adityanath 300 plus becomes obviously a powerful mascot for the BJP. Sorry, Sanjay.
And Rahul, about the image of Yogi Adityanath, I think there are two images, very contrasting images. If you go to the common man on the ground, they like Yogi because of a strong man. But if you talk to the intelligentsia, people who love rule of law, etc., they don't like the way he's functioning as the chief minister. But on the common man, I think they love Yogi.
I must tell our viewers the story. I was in Prayagraj recently, just doing nothing, just talking to people, not particularly shooting anything. We didn't have our cameras. And some people came and they started speaking about Yogi Adityanath and started crying. Now, the only other time I've seen this with any other politician was with Narendra Modi at the peak of his popularity, when India was yearning for change. And these were BJP supporters, undisputedly. But just the passion that Yogi Adityanath evoked was different. You know, it doesn't happen, say, with the Devendra Fadnavis in Maharashtra or Shivraj Singh Chauhan in Madhya Pradesh or anybody else that you may pick in the states. There is something, Rahul Srivastav, that Yogi Adityanath has done over the past 5 years in terms of cleaning up law and order in Uttar Pradesh, trying to focus on development, that has helped him emerge, not just in UP, but in the eyes of BJP voters as their first choice for a post-Modi dispensation, whenever that may be.
Rahul, I completely agree with you. You see, what everybody forgets, that despite the caste arithmetics which we are talking about, that propelled the BJP to where it is at 312 seats in Uttar Pradesh, the MBCs, the non-Jatav SC, the non-Yadav OBCs and all those factors were there working for the BJP. But an upper caste Thakur was brought in as the chief minister from the outside, while Manoj Sinha was waiting in the wings, all set to get his Sherwani stitched and become the chief minister. Has any one of the factors changed? No, it has not changed. In fact, Yogi has consolidated his image. So I say that Yogi Adityanath will be in the pantheon of BJP greats after Narendra Modi. I very strongly believe that in September last year, when there were murmurs that Yogi was likely to be replaced with somebody, I had said that they brought in a saffron-robed chief minister only because he was a saffron-robed strident image. It did not, several other factors did not matter. He was completely inexperienced in 2017, but he was brought in. Could the BJP have removed a saffron-robed chief minister if Hindutva was going to be the mainstay of their campaign in 2022? Certainly not. That's why he was not removed. When Prime Minister Yogi holds his hand and raises it and says, Yogi Upyogi hai, there is a message being sent. And similarly, Rahul, did the BJP bother when Sadhvi Pragya was brought in and made a member of parliament? No, certainly the BJP did not bother about it, that what people of South India or one segment of the society will be talking about it. A saffron-robed leader has its charm. The RSS and the BJP takes him all over the country. He is creating a cult of his own. He has made a lot of mistakes. He was supposed to be the Yogi, to be religion neutral, Rahul, at one time. But he proved to be more Thakur than anything else. That is one error which has stepped in, displeased a lot of people. But Rahul, if Yogi Adityanath wins this election with any margin, remember, he's not only going to break the 35-year-old jinx, also he could well be the first chief minister ever to have completed 5-year term and then win an election and come back for 5 more. Yogi is somebody to be watched in BJP.
I had an opportunity to speak to people very close to the Prime Minister who interact with him on a continuing basis. In the sense that I picked up was that the Prime Minister also seems comfortable with the idea of Yogi Adityanath as his potential successor in time to come. No hurry, and it's not even something the BJP is actively discussing. But because their backgrounds are similar in terms of keeping family away from politics, this whole notion that Yogi Adityanath would be a suitable successor, and he hasn't flexed his muscles, shown any temper, he's stayed in line, very deferential, very respectful towards the Prime Minister. Therefore, the sense I picked up is that this is an idea that the Prime Minister is comfortable with. It's not being actively worked on for sure, but politics being politics, it's not something that the Prime Minister would be averse to, and his vote of confidence would matter. If the two wouldn't get along, that would be problematic. But despite everything that may be said as speculation, it's not something that he seems averse to. Sharad Pradhan, what's your reading?
To that, remember during the second wave of the pandemic, there were huge question marks over Yogi's governance. At that time, A.K. Sharma was sent from Delhi. Many believed as a sort of to guide Yogi Adityanath. There were reports of a flashpoint between Yogi Adityanath and Amit Shah, and those reports have continued. That Yogi Adityanath, like Mr. Modi, is a loner. Who are the people today who are most anti-Yogi in UP? Many of his MLAs, many of his ministers. It is very similar in that sense to Gujarat.
A lot of the MLAs didn't like Chief Minister Narendra Modi either.
That's what I'm saying. You see, Yogi Adityanath, but please appreciate, Uttar Pradesh is more complex than Gujarat for the BJP. It's a more complicated case. Keshav Prasad Maurya and others also believe that the voter of the BJP is more attuned and affiliated to their caste grouping than Yogi
Unless you can build an image which rises above caste.
So there could be, agreed, but there could be no challenger at all to Mr. Modi for his 12 years in Gujarat. And even if they were quickly marginalized.
And there's no challenger to Yogi either.
At the moment, it appears there is no challenger to Yogi. That's why I said Yogi needs to, Mr. Adityanath needs to win convincingly.
Oh, sure.
If he does not win convincingly,
Sharad
there will
Pradhan,
be rivals.
Do you accept this? Anila Singh says she's betting on you having a contrarian take.
Well, I would tend to, in fact, I wanted to say what Rajdeep has already stated. That one example of Arvind Sharma and that whole episode. Apart from that, there is I certainly don't agree that there is any match between Yogi and Narendra Modi. There's a world of a difference. Apart from the fact that they happen to be loners, but I don't understand this theory. How is it that somebody without a family is very honest? To go by this on this premise, I think it's very, very impractical. This doesn't happen. If that was the case, then why call all kinds of names to Mayawati? Why describe her as the most corrupt chief minister?
So Mayawati has her nephew right around her.
Yogi Adityanath may be honest, but there is rampant corruption right under his nose, which even people closest to him admit. And there is a lot of resentment, as Rajdeep rightly pointed out, against Yogi Adityanath within his own cabinet. So,
okay, let Anila Singh respond very quickly that Uttar Pradesh is far from Ram Rajya. Yogi may be individually honest, but corruption hasn't ended in UP. Anila, quick final words.
People are going to vote for Bharatiya Janata Party because we have given crime and corruption free governance to the people. When we came to power, the whole of the Uttar Pradesh was infested by criminals and corrupt. So we have worked, we have tried to control both the things, both the witches, and above all, unemployment as well. Like in today's date, we have doubled the economy. In today's date, I will say that in ease of doing business, UP is standing on second place. So with the help of fiscal transformation and ease of doing business, great investment is coming in our state. And one more thing, Rahul, मैं कहना भूल गई थी कि ये जो ठगबंधन बना है जयंत चौधरी जी का और अखिलेश यादव जी का, जयंत चौधरी जी ने तो वोट तक नहीं किया। पश्चिमी उत्तर प्रदेश का ये रिप्रेजेंटेशन क्या करेंगे जो वोट भी नहीं कर पाते हैं।
Anila Singh, Sharad Pradhan, Rahul Srivastava, Sanjay Kumar and Pradeep Gupta, and I must just tell our viewers
divide is the only thing he
and be very clear when I say this. If you think that Pradeep ji is telling me anything extra beyond what he's telling you on TV, that's not happening. So what you heard is all we know, because people will message and call later, बताओ उन्होंने कैमरे के बाद क्या बताया, कुछ नहीं बताया भाई. If you want to know, tune in on the 7th of March, which is the day India Today and Access My India will be putting out its post-poll study. That's when CSDS and their team are also doing their different kind of more academic and more rigorous analysis. So we'll have both of them sharing their thoughts with us. So don't imagine that we have any extra insights or analysis. It's a top secret. He keeps it inside his pocket. You can check his pocket and see what he's got out of it, but it's not coming out. So thank you for joining us on the Newstrack, where we discuss the first phase of polling. We have a lot more coming up on the other side. Back in a moment. This is India's election channel.
मार्च के बाद शांत करवा देंगे, फिर से शांत करवा देंगे। वो हमारे मुख्यमंत्री हैं, वो कोई कंप्रेसर थोड़ी है कि हमें ठंडा कर देंगे।
कोई कह रहा है हम गर्मी निकालेंगे, कोई कह रहा है हम चर्बी निकालेंगे। मैं कहना चाहती हूँ कि हम भर्ती निकालेंगे।
कोई दिन ऐसा नहीं जिस दिन भगवान हमारे सपनों में ना आकर के कहते हो कि आपकी सरकार बनने जा रही है।
सपने में आकर भगवान कृष्ण भी उनको अब कोस रहे हैं कि अबे नालायकों, जब सरकार मिली थी तब कोसी कला का दंगा करवा रहे थे।
राम भक्तों के खून से सनी हुई टोपी है, इसलिए अलर्ट, लोगों को अलर्ट कर देने की आवश्यकता है। लाल टोपी और अन्न की लाल पोटली इनको सबक सिखाने का काम करेंगे।